Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our, I guess, very interesting panel discussion about opportunities and challenges of women in supply chain management and logistics. First of all, I'd like to introduce shortly our participants. Starting next to me, it's Sabine Eises. She is Senior Vice President Sales Europe at DHL Global Forwarding. Welcome. Thank you for participating. Next one, Rita Todt-Csonka. She is European Freight Manager at SEG Automotive in Hungary.
Yes.
Welcome. Welcome also to Tamara Twenger. She is Nordic Director Nordics of Forto. And Sylvia Kleiman, she is Head of Commercial Marketing Eastern Europe at Siva Logistics. A warm welcome to you all. My name is Sandra Eitler. I have quite a different position. I'm a professor of logistics at the University of Applied Sciences, and I like to point out how important this topic is for us as a university and the institution which is responsible for the education of the future leaders and employees in logistics. So let's start with some topics in logistics which are really important for us. As you know, it's globalization, it's disruption of supply chains, it's sustainability, social sustainability, ecological sustainability, it's economic sustainability, and one big problem is skills shortage. And from our point of view, there are three main reasons for this skills shortage in logistics. One of them is the qualification of labor. This is our task and our duty. We have to educate people well for the logistics sector. And we all know that competences change in logistics. So it's not only handling and storage, but you have to communicate, you have to develop businesses, you have to change business models, so you have other tasks to solve. So one problem is probably that people are not qualified for logistics as well as they should be. Another problem, let's say, is that the working conditions sometimes are not that good in logistics compared to other businesses. So this is another reason probably why it's so hard to find people for our industry. And the third point is the perceived image. So logistics sometimes not has the best image. So we can work on it to show young people that there are very interesting jobs in logistics, what they can gain, and that they, for example, young ones that are high performers can make a good career in logistics. So why is skills shortage for this panel interesting? Because very often it is said that women can be a solution for skill shortage in logistics. If you see the numbers in Austria, we have 200,000 employees in transport and logistics. That's about a quarter of them are female. And the number is rising. So 10 years ago it were about 20%, now it's a quarter, 24%. And it is said if there is skill shortage, so why don't you hire women? But that's not that easy. We now have here 4 careers of women in logistics, but these are not typical careers for logistics, but extraordinary careers. So I would like to start this panel discussion with the first questions to you. What do you think are the challenges women are facing in logistics? And why is it that hard to have success in logistics? Sabine, would you like to start?
Yeah, so we had a pretty lively pre-discussion as a group of ladies, and we figured out it would be great also to have a man on stage, you know, to also get an input on how you see that. Always welcome, Christoph. And we were also thinking ourselves on how we got there where we are today. Yeah, so just to speak for myself, I ended up in logistics by pure coincidence. It was never my aspiration to work in logistics. I finished university, I was on a scholarship, I was running out of money, and I was looking for a summer job. Yeah, and I had a friend who was working for Deutsche Post DHL, and she said, "They're looking for someone in Vienna, why don't you come and join us?" And I stayed there for a couple of years, and then I went to the industry as a European transport manager at Flextronics, and then back to DHL. So I would say everything by pure coincidence on how I ended up in logistics. On the other hand, when I look at my career steps and my career development, what I found out is that I had fantastic bosses, male bosses, who were always supporting me on this journey and really encouraged me also to step up, to make a leap, you know, to try out, to be courageous enough to take the next step, and I think this really helps. So reflecting also of what could be done differently for women is, yeah, to find some allies within the organization who would also help you and support you in growing. What I personally see as a challenge, I'm at the European Management Board, I'm the only woman at the table. It's not always fun to be the only woman at the table, I have to admit, you know, but I think I also need to act as a role model. When I accepted this job, I wanted also definitely to do it. I knew also that I was ready, and that this is a nice and good step for me at the current stage. But I think the challenge is that we are sometimes maybe too afraid of also trying to fit into this male world, you know, that we sometimes try to adjust too much. But I think also we need to, and this was also our pre-discussion showed, that we need to be who we are, and then, of course, being authentic, and it will help us. Just briefly, before I hand over, in DHL Global Forwarding, we have a workforce of 40% females across the board in all of our functions, 40% females, which is quite a lot, I would say. So we must be attractive somehow as an employer. But on the top management or in management functions, we are not there yet. So I will speak later on what we are trying to do and what we plan moving forward. I will hand over. I can speak forever.
Thank you very much. So I'm Rita Tolcsonka, and I'm working at SCG Automotive Hungary as a European freight manager. And yeah, so there was not any clear plan when I was studying in the high school, to tell the truth. I had no any idea that how could I imagine myself in the next, not just a long term, as a short term. But finally, I decided I wanted to go to work and just see what is happening in the real life. And it was very good for me, because I just noticed that I really need to go to the university and have a bachelor or master degree. And that's why, and in that case, I would have a chance to just to deal with something which is very interesting. And as I started, I was a warehouse member, so I just booked in the ERP system, and so many times I felt that my brain will die. So that's why I decided to go to the university, and in parallel, of course, I worked at Samsung in Hungary. And finally, I could started a new position. I was a buyer. I was responsible for the Korean and Singapore IPOs without any degree. And I was really lucky because I had this chance. And of course, finally, I had my degree. But it was really good to see that degree is necessary if I would like to go further. And the next step in my life was just change my workplace. I went to JBL, this is an American company, as a NPI buyer, and then I was responsible for internal logistics as well, and finally I was promoted as a customs and freight manager. So that's why I said that I spent my whole life within logistics and supply chain, because then I was promoted as a European freight and customs manager at another company. It was a BPI Remi, and I'm here.
And you're loving it.
Yes, I love it. I love to solve problems, yes.
And Tamara, was it also coincidence for you ending up in logistics?
I would not call it coincidence, but so yeah, my name is Tamara, Tamara Dwenger. I'm with Forto, mainly known for me as a freight hub. I'm the director of Nordics there. I'm 2 years with this company, and later on maybe also a little bit more why I joined them, because that's also part of the reason why I'm with them, that they offering something on a flexible work model, not only for people who are having children, but also in general, who are offering more and making it happen that people could work in our environment a little bit in a better, not only a little bit, even in a better way. I ended up in logistics because I thought it's nice to work in an environment where I can use my language skills, where I can talk with other people in overseas. Yeah, and then I started my career in Germany. You're doing a traineeship before, or you can also study, but it's quite common to do a traineeship for 2 to 3 years. And when I entered the office, I figured out, I would say within 1-2 days, that this is really a boys' club. And it was not negative for me. It was just like, okay, it's going to be a tough one. And I figured out, yes, it's at some points tough, but it also turns on the fact how you're acting at some points with these things. And I had in my whole career always managers, males and females, who supported, but not depending on the fact that I'm a female, depending on what I'm doing, how I'm into these things. And that's also something of my main message. It's not only about hiring someone who is a female, hiring the right person with the right attitude to get things done at the end.
Silvia?
Yes, yeah, I started my career, I'm Silvia Kleinmann, working for SIVA as head of marketing for Eastern Europe. And yeah, my career, I started in a startup that was hip and in when I finished my studies of economics and business administration. And more or less by accident after this job, because we spent a lot of money and threw a lot of money out as e-commerce company. Of course, we went bankrupt, but still, that was the time. Yeah, and when we did this, trying to sell sports goods with a 3 KB modem. Yeah, so pictures took half an hour until they appeared on the internet. But doesn't matter. And then I started to work for a logistics company, because they were very interested in people who made this experience in e-commerce. That was just starting all this world, and that was my luck. So also coincidence, not really planned this career step, but I was always going for challenges, for something which I could figure out, stick my nose in. There was nothing written, so I could play around with it and go for it. But I was in luck that I always had male bosses who were supporting me. They liked my curiosity. And my spirit, and that was what counted for them. They didn't look if I was male or female. Yeah, so and this was my luck, I have to say. But I also experienced a lot of meetings only with male colleagues, and of course jokes were made about women, etc. But I never had to fight these fights, because I always had men surrounding me who stepped in. Yeah, and this was what helped me, what supported me, and where I never thought about I'm female, and that makes a difference for me, yeah, because there were people surrounding and supporting me, and that made the difference. But the world in logistics and still is a bit more conservative, I think, than other industries. We have to say this and admit. And in the pre-discussion, we made the decision that we should put out then probably at the end the advantages for you, yeah, to reflect and not so much think about this, women, we have to hire more just because it's like everybody in the society expects this, but that you have a value add doing this, yeah, and not so much we have to, but you go for it, yeah. But we will come later to this, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. To sum up, it's not that important to be female, but just to have competences and skills that fit well to the logistics industries. So the next point, we say we didn't have that much challenges probably in your careers, but could you imagine some challenges for other women, for younger women, for students like yesterday? What would you tell younger women what they could do, what they should do to start their careers in logistics if they want to start a real career?
Yeah, so challenges I would see. I think, you know, what always comes up with women is, of course, children and who takes care of kids when the time comes. And yeah, I had an agreement with my husband that who is the breadwinner, who makes more money, we will judge as we go along, and who will stay at home or who will stay with, you know, the daughter if she's sick, for example, because of course we both wanted, you know, to have a stable family environment and income as well. This was not always easy, of course, to figure this out, who will do that, because of course I was also very demanding. I was also very demanding on my career. I wanted to progress, and these discussions were also not always easy ones. However, I think it's very important to have a very strong support from the partner and the family surrounding, and a strong logistical network also around me. I had various nannies who were taking care, because otherwise I would not have been able to carry out my job. But also most recently I was a country manager in Slovenia, Croatia and Serbia, and what I found out there is that the society ticks completely different, you know. So there's childcare from a very early age on for all children. It's from 8 to 4, and these are also the working hours for parents, 8 to 4. I mean, you will hardly see anybody after 4 in the office, or it's more an exception basis. And it's completely socially acceptable also for a man to leave at 4 to go and pick up the kids from kindergarten or from school. So I think it's also around society, because in Austria, I was really struggling when I returned back from maternity leave after 10 months. That, yeah, I mean, while you leave early, or maybe I just felt it, that I got some looks, maybe it wasn't the case, but sometimes this is a little bit tricky. And I think what then happens also in Austria, or contrary to some Eastern European countries, is that women are then forced somehow into part-time working, yeah? And once you're part-time working, of course, also for leadership discussions, succession planning, career plans, well, the question always comes up: how will you succeed as a part-time, you know, worker to make to take on this leadership role? How you're planning to do that, you know? So I think there are these two aspects that I would mainly see, and I think the third topic that we also pre-discussed was kind of, you know, being confident enough just to take this step. And I mean, it's also, we realized it's a very male audience here as well. We see a little bit more women than yesterday and this morning now, which is great to see. But also, I mean, just trusting that you will manage. No man is thinking, am I fit enough for this job? You know, sorry to say, you know, when you have an interview, I mean, men are very comfortable and confident at all times. And this is maybe also how we raise our children, that they trust in their capabilities and that they will manage. And it's great to see that, you know, this is changing as well. And this is something I would really also tell every young woman. I mean, trust, you know, go for it, try. And if you fail, I mean, at least you tried. And I'm sure you will not fail, you know. So having this a stronger confidence in your own capabilities, yeah.
Thank you. I think, Rita, you prepared some slides for us for
Yes,
the comparison.
please. Yes.
Between Western and Eastern Europe.
Yeah, the topic which I would like to discuss is the difference which I noticed when I worked different countries, and as I was a European manager, that's why I had chance to see other women how they work. And there is a significant difference in women's employment in part-time between the Eastern European and the Western European. And if you can see the figures, it's really clear that, for example, in Belgium, almost 40%, or in France, almost 30%, and so on. I do not want to do it country by country, but if you check Poland, where it is 7%, or you can just check it, Hungary, for example, so you can see that there is a huge difference. And I just wanted to check that, why? Why can it happen? And another thing which and it's somehow close to this whole challenge topic is we really have a kind of issue, let's say, or topic, which COVID teaches us. And could you please go to the next slide? Because here you can see, I had some internal discussions with other ladies who are in the same situation as I am. And I just collected some problems, and I do not want to say cliches. These are not cliches. This is the real life, and this is what we have on daily basis. So if women have to work in 8-hour working time, and unfortunately in Eastern Europe, so many ladies have to do it. It is not a kind of chance. It can be an option because from regulation and from rules point of view, there is no significant difference in Eastern Europe and Western Europe. The problem is that in Eastern Europe, unfortunately, the families need 8-hour working wages. So they cannot just easily say that, okay, every Wednesday I will not work, because the families need money. And I do not want to just push you to understand that women is really important within logistics, because really, I think really important. Maybe later we can discuss why. But I would like to show you that what is the real life. So this is really our daily challenges, that how I can take to or from the schools, the kindergartens, because I have to be in the early afternoon around 4 o'clock every day at school and pick our children up. But of course, I already started to work around 7 or 8. But if we are talking about logistics, you all know that we could not just say at 4 o'clock that that's finished, and I will not check my emails, and I will not see that what kind of problems we have. Unfortunately, we have to work, and that's why it would be really important, what we can later discuss, that how we think that you, I mean the government and the companies could supply women just to keep somehow them within logistics. So the challenge is sickness. I traveled here on Wednesday. Tuesday afternoon, I got a phone call from the school that my daughter is ill. Okay, so of course, I'm really lucky because my mother lives next to us in the same city. And I'm really happy because my husband always supports me, and the company absolutely supports me. But again, what can I do? I have to travel, so I really need any solution. And that's why it's very important that how our family and companies can support us. Parent meetings. I do not want to say being under quarantine. So all women have, I'm sure, absolutely very funny stories that what happened when we had a video call, a phone call with children. The worst in my life was when I had a video conference call with an Oracle consultant and Oracle developer, and my children were just sitting me with balloons, and they just popped up the balloons, and it was really funny for them. But you know, when you just start to explain something by the conference call, and they just feel that the whole explanation, the whole thing which you would like to tell to these guys, just getting ruined. And finally, I had to say that, sorry guys, now we have to stop it and postpone this whole conversation, because I cannot do it.
But I think there was also some very positive aspects from this COVID time, right? That we realized that we can actually manage a couple of things, or also working remotely, you know. So I think, and it's more acceptable now as well, I think, when children are running behind, or there's some background noise,
But I think exactly that's maybe part of the good point of Corona. It's more accepted to work at home, and then maybe coming back to the question, or what you said, that we not had challenges. I would say everyone has challenges in his lifetime when he's doing a job, and we also had challenges, but we overcome them. And when I'm looking at us, I would say it's around 20 years of working here, or 15 to 20 years of working, so you have an idea how to overcome also different points. And then it comes on the question of how we're getting young, talented people into it, not only women's, but also men's, into the logistics area. The companies itself need to be more attractive. They need to have kind of working models which supports having a family. And it's not only about having a family, because we identified that we not all have children here. It's not only about having children, it's also having a different work-life balance. When I started in this environment, I would not say that I worked 60 or 80 hours a week, but it was a different style of working. It was not even able to leave early, because you need to have your documents next to you. And now I never printed since the last 2 years, because there's not the need for us. We're working completely paperless. And there are these smaller and sometimes bigger changes in our environment, and it comes along with Corona, who makes it more to make things more happen. And when you as a company are attractive, and when you make the job which the people have to do even more attractive, then you're also getting talented people in. And then you have also to have this look on, okay, how we can get a good mix. And we discussed earlier about the fact of what needs the society to do in order to get more females in. I would say when you are a 150-year-old company and you not get it managed to have at least some kind of share, not talking about 50-50 on each level, but then something is going wrong in the last years. If you are a young company, you have to work on to get to some certain level. And when you found a company, as our founders have done it, you're not looking left and right and say, okay, for diversity reasons, I need to have a woman. No, you're founding a company and start something. And then when you're growing the company, you're rethinking, okay, how I can be attractive as an employer to the society. And then you start, okay, we need to have this and this and this. And when I look at because we are quite a young company, and within Forto, there are not that much of working moms and working dads. There are, but that is to the reason we are a young company. If you're not, when I think it's 25, 26 is something of our average. A lot of people don't have children at that time. But the people who have children, they are flexible in their working times. And then there is not the way of being part-time. They're just starting at different times. But there need also to be the acceptance from the people. There are jobs where you have to be there from 8 to 4. You cannot change it because you have customers calling you. But if you're working in a different department where it doesn't matter if you get the job done at 12 or at 6 or at 8 o'clock in the evening, then it's some sort of difference. So there needs to be acceptance from different sides.
So we can say that it's important to create a fruitful environment where people are happy to work in. So the logistics industries has to offer interesting jobs. It doesn't matter if applicants are male or female. They need good jobs, a good career opportunity, and they need challenges. Mm-hmm. So, Silvia, what do you think? What can be some solutions to create an atmosphere where people would like to work?
I think important is a change in mindset. When we talk about women, children, it's always this combination. Why is it not man and child? Yeah? Why is it not the woman stays home 6 months and after that the man goes home 6 months and enjoys seeing the kids growing? I think this is a general mindset change which is necessary. Yeah, that it's accepted that a department head, if it's a male one, says I go home for a year. Can I still continue with my career? Yes, should be possible for men as well as for women. And I think that needs to be set in the mindset of CEOs even. Yeah, to say yes, I accept this, or sorry, I have to go home now. I have to pick up my kid. It's sick. A man should be able to say this without, look at this person, how to say, yeah, I don't want to use any negative wording for this, yeah, but this should be accepted in society, because men and women are equally responsible for their children, and not just the women. And missing this out is missing out 50% of the talents, of the qualification, of creative people surrounding you, and getting them into logistics. And I think there are lots of women out who definitely should work in logistics, yeah, and have great ideas and push our branch and industry. And we just need to make it a bit different. We are still a bit more conservative than other industries, I think. I also think it's a part of leadership. Yeah, if somebody considers himself, I'm a leader, then you should have that leadership skill to treat people equal and to accept man going home for a kid because it's sick. Yeah, that's one part of it. And so far in my career, whenever I hired people or I was a project leader of something, etc., then I always had people leading me and others who had that as part of their leadership. Yeah, they were great and fantastic and supported men and women equally, also when it comes to salary, to certain conditions. Yeah, this is just, you can make it work. I made it always work. As a leader in my department, I have to think about it, how I can make it work. I made it work. It was possible. And I have men and women in the department. I just look at talent, and I don't care if male or female, and also age usually tends, I don't know, women 28, she could get pregnant, yes, so what? Yeah, she will come back after a year because I'm a great boss. I hope so. Yeah, and it is like this. It's up to you. It's your person who decide or who makes it possible that this person says, yes, I don't want to stay at home. I want to come back because it's a great team. I have a great boss. Why should I stay at home? Yeah, and look at diapers, etc. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice time. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, but this is what you can make the difference, and this is what I think is important. Part of leadership is this.
Exactly, and I think that people already, when a person is start looking for a job and going into an interview process, and they feel they only talking to, let's say, only to men or only to women, something is maybe over or underrated in some sort of way. But if they feel they're talking to a diverse team, even younger, even older, with different backgrounds. And within Forto, we're doing at least 3 rounds of interviews. It's a screening, it's an expert and a final call. And we try to bring a lot of people into that process, that the people can see what kind of company we are. And yes, we are, I would say, as a young company, also different in this very conservative market. But the people should see that and have this positive feeling that we not talking about the diversity, we're living it. And that's, I think, the good part of it.
It definitely is. You all mentioned support. So companies can support, the direct leader, boss of the team can support. Do you have some best practices for support in your company or in teams or in former jobs, relationships, which you think that are applicable for more companies?
I observed that my earlier statement triggered some comment on the table of men behind there about confidence in women. Would you like to share something or share your point of view?
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. We are interested. I saw that you have been discussing after my comment, that women, young students, our daughters should be more confident. No, okay. So it was just some side comment. I was really interested what your view was on this topic. With regards to measurements, we were also discussing earlier about quotas and what would make sense. I think what we realized as a company, because we had this target like 10 years ago that we need more women in leadership positions, and everybody was talking about it, it was great, but nothing happened, you know. So if you measure then the ratio of women in leadership position, nothing has happened. So also Deutsche Post DHL now, you know, set a clear target in percentage of women in leadership position that they want to achieve by 2025. Which is great, because I think at least you need to have some ambition, you need to try to get to this target, and it also puts a lot of emphasis and focus on this topic, because it's a discussion all the time, you know. But I think what is also very important for us as women is that we are hired because of our skills, of our knowledge, our personality, our attitude, and not because we are women into certain jobs. So I think that's, you know, the other side of the coin. So yes, a lot of programs have been put in place in my company, different leadership programs just for women, different leadership programs also combining men and women, of course, for diversity, not making classical careers for women just HR and finance, but also opening it up. We see particularly in certain markets that we have a lot of ladies in leadership positions up to a certain level, senior management teams, but never to a country management level. You know, I think I was one of 2 country managers in Europe as a woman. So I think there's a lot which needs to be done, of course, also for us being role models, encouraging other ladies, but also to you. I mean, you are still the majority, you know, as men in leadership functions in the logistics industry. I mean, having a second thought, challenging your people as well, you know, why couldn't this woman do it? Why don't we give her a chance, for example? And also, as Sylvia said, I mean, you know, offering same chances to everybody and accepting, you know, different circumstances and being more open-minded. And I think also, as COVID has shown us, more flexible working models, you know, that I have you know, guys in my team, they really work in the morning hours until 2, then they pick up the kids, and they start working at 7 again until midnight, you know. Because his customers are also sitting in the US, it's perfect timing, you know. I mean, it's a win-win basically for everybody. So I think also for us to be more open to all of that, you know, to embrace, to understand what drives individuals also, what could help them to be successful. But I still strongly believe that this will need an extra push, you know, if we are committed to that and that diversity is important to bring this to the table, then there needs to be some extra measurements in place for sure. I'm absolutely convinced of that.
So the different push could be the quota, as you mentioned before. What do you think about the quota in companies?
Yeah, we were discussing it intensively. I am pro, yeah. So, I always keep saying there was a time when women were not allowed to decide what profession they want to have. If they were allowed to rent an apartment, they were not allowed to drive a car. Still, there are countries out where you cannot drive a car. And we would still have it if there would not be some legal actions where women were allowed to vote and to decide on their own, being treated equally. And at least for a certain point or time, it could be that there is a quote. And of course, always in regards and paying attention how big or small a company, for example, is, yeah, in which way this could be done in order to force this and push this and also make it possible to see that it can work. Yeah, because if we keep it like this, this is always just talking. It's not taking place. Yeah, and that's what we would like to implement. That it's really taking place. That there are more CEOs female. That there are more managers of the board female. Yeah, that this is more divided. And it's not just because it should be like this, but as I said, these advantages. Yeah, if you have a sales team with men and women. This is a typical example. You have different customers. Sometimes you're not successful with this customer, so you send different people to this customer, a male, one female, young, old, whatever, yeah, to fit more and to match this customer to get it, yeah, to get the business. Yeah? And this is one start, and you can find lots of different advantages of having a mixed team. Yeah? This is just one example. But yes, I am for quotes.
So diversity could be the key to success of a company. Tamara, what do you think? What are possible measures or successful measures, solutions?
First of all, I have to agree on and to echo. I'm also, let's say, a pro person for a quote. I think we should see it a little bit in a different way, not just as a yes or no, more in a way of about what kind of type of companies we're talking about. Because it's clear you have, and now not only talking about logistics, you have jobs where you have to be there until a certain time, have to do whatever, maybe something what is more from a strongness perspective, not saying that a woman cannot do it, more in the thinking of why is the reason why there are more women or even more men, because there are also jobs in this world out where it's only related to women, so why not, men could also do some women jobs, that's also part of that. I think we should see also on the way of how old the company is, what kind of size has it, and grow with that together, and in order to measure that. And what is really, and it's still when I'm thinking about since when women can vote in Germany, it's not like 100 years ago, it's some age which I personally could not remind, but my mom can. And that's something where I'm like, wow, this is, for me, it's super normal to live like that. But yeah, my mom, and she's not 100, had a different style of life when she has been grown up in that case. From a measure perspective, I think companies can also measure themselves in how successful they are to hire people. And there we're coming back to the way, how attractive are you as a company to apply on? And if I'm looking up a company and I'm looking at the board and I only see, don't quote the white old man thing, but if we need to be honest, I would like to see a diverse board. And it's not only about the board, it's also about the people who are then belonging there. Because sometimes if it's, and that's not only for photo, if you see that there is let's say the second level where you see, okay, there are more, it's more diverse, more women coming in there, also other cultural backgrounds, etc., then it goes into the right direction. Because there's not the need that everything is being right in step 1, but step 2 and step 3 should bring us in the right direction. And in my private life, I leaded 6 years a male football club. And I was the only one in Hamburg, because I'm living in Hamburg, and there are a lot of non-profit football clubs. At that time, I was the only woman in this position. And it's like, in my environment, there has been never ever the question, why? It's just like, you should do that, because you can do it. And I have done it 6 years successful, and now it's a man. And it's not a problem that it's now a man. So people need to get used to a few of these things.
We have a question. Do you think maternity is kind of breaking career of a woman in logistics industry?
No, it's not.
Short answer.
Yeah, I think, no, it's not. I mean, it shouldn't be, of course. I mean, it's a sacrifice to a certain extent, but I think it's, as Silvia also rightfully mentioned, you set yourself a target and you commit to that, and you can manage if you want to, right? And I mean, being out for 9 months, I think it's manageable for a company to wait for you until you're back, you know? So I think it's also, and I still work during this time also a little bit, you know. So just to get this right, I was very committed to my job, but I'm also very committed as a mother, and I love being a mother, and I think that's the best job I've ever had. But I think, no, I mean, for me.
I really enjoyed that time. There was no any reason why I had to work. And I think from this point of view, we are lucky, because we could have this kind of break. It depends on, it is 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. But I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Me too, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's, of course, it is also your personal setup, how you think to do it, yeah. But you should also be clear, make up your mind, yeah, what you want. And of course, if you stay 5 years at home, then your career might have a crack in it, or it will take a while to go back, yeah, or to get back where you have left. So always my recommendation is to women, come back as soon as possible. Yeah, don't make your choice too long. Yeah, decide, make your decision, and go for it. And we can then work out how it can work. I can give you more flexibility. We can deal within the team. Somebody takes over this and that. Yeah, but make up your choice. Make up your mind. Yeah, if you want this, then you should move on and not wait years until you even make your decision. And this is a bit where I question the rules, how they are currently. I'm not a fan of it. I think women should be forced to make earlier decisions. Yeah, for companies, I fully understand that it's difficult to handle when somebody has, 3 years to make up a mind when I will come back. This doesn't really work, especially not for smaller companies. Yeah,
and even not on a short notice. So there should be, because I also have to echo you here again, there should be a different timing, because when you rehire someone or you replace on a whatever temporary contract a person, you need at least 3 to 6 months, depends on which country you are, and you could not wait that someone is raising his hands and telling you, no, I'm not coming back for another year, and it's like, oh. So there should be, it's about communication. And I think that's a lot of women made negative experience, and for that reason, it's also this negative attitude at some points. And there's always this chicken and egg question, and we should be the better example to understand and offer solutions. I think then it also comes back on leadership. And even if you say, okay, I have a sleepless night because I'm now in that situation, whatever, you have a team of 10 and 5 of them getting pregnant at the same time. This has maybe not happened that often, but these things could happen, and even if it's 2, it will already give you some problems in your daily thing. But get along with it. That's the reason why you are there, to lead this team. And get along with it.
We have another question. What unique practices your company does to make it more gender neutral? I don't know, probably from an online...
Thank you for the great questions. That's really cool.
Who wants to answer for his company?
Gender neutral. I'm not sure if I understand the question correctly. So equal opportunities.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I said, I think we have very specific leadership programs in place. There's a strong mentoring program also in place within our company. There's a much more rigid career planning. You know, if a lady says, I want to achieve this and this, it's really supported from all angles, but also clear feedback sessions. Do we see her there? Will it work out? And what we also found, it really helps to pair up with a mentor, and what we do also is that we encourage the ladies to pick their own mentor within the organization so that we don't kind of match it. But you go for your mentor, and who you decide this could be, who is that person within the organization who you admire, male, female, white, black, whatever, where you think you can benefit out of this relationship. I also had this early in my career, and I picked the CEO of that company, and because I was really interested on how this person, ticks, and it really gave me great insight on what I need to do and where I need to improve, to make these steps that I wanted to achieve,
So we have other questions, but I'd like to pick up the mentoring and tell you before we answer these questions. We initiated 2 years ago a mentoring program together with the Damen Logistik Club, which is very successful. So we have graduates from our bachelor study program and our master degree study program, and they're from the Damen Logistik Club, which is an Austrian female networking association. The mentors help our graduates to begin to start their career in logistics. So we think that mentoring could be a good possibility to bring more women into the branch.
So we love the questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, whoever's doing this.
So I stopped talking about mentoring and give the question to you. Would a workshop, I think it was the question, would a workshop for men would be useful? And which tools could men use to bring more women into logistics companies? So it's your question, I guess.
Yes, so maybe if you can present the last slide which we have. So as I mentioned that we try to collect all the recommendations from women who are in the same situation. So not this one, the next one please. Yes, it is. And I'm sure that these recommendations would be very valuable for governments and for companies as well. But it is a very good question. But I'm not sure whether just a kind of training cannot be a little bit pushy.
I have an easy, maybe a too easy answer. How should a man know?
Yes.
When you have a leadership team which is equal, then you can talk with others, and then you have an idea what the women and the men in your team would like to have and not to have. So when you are only led by one kind of group, and it doesn't mean if it's only men, because if it's, for example, only women, they're also not knowing maybe what a man wants. And then we're coming back to what we said earlier. We're missing in this round a man also in the discussion, because I said at the beginning, this boys club thing, we need to not to be the girls club. We need to include everyone.
Yeah, to be neutral when it comes to gender, and just to look at the person, the talent, the creativity that person brings, yeah, that knowledge, that value add to your company to solve the challenges which you face tomorrow, which you don't even know. And the only way to do this is to have a large variety of different people, different mindset, different thinking. And the only thing I wanted to add to these neutral hirings, for example, make your HR team strong. Yeah? And I don't want to hire buddies who are like me. I don't want to hire somebody who is like me, because that person would just tell what I already know. I want to have somebody who tells me something different I don't know. Yeah, so, and for example, our hiring approach is HR decides which candidates they guide through. Even if I have a recommendation, this and this person, I know maybe you check, but I let HR always check that person before I then go further. Yeah, and I think that could be also a step into this neutral hirings.
So we are open for another last question.
I would like to ask something, and I'm really sorry if I would have known that you my question, and I discussed this with Sabine by phone before the summit. My question goes in. Thank you very much. My question goes in regards what we could learn from certain countries in Eastern Europe. You know, in my personal history in freight forwarding, I had a leadership responsibility for Central Eastern Europe, and for me, I always try to employ people based on their skills, based on their personality, what I heard also from you here on stage, and never about because that's a man or that's a woman. And in certain countries in Eastern Europe, it was so easy to fill leadership positions with women. My personal favorite country is Romania. In this regards, I had so many top women in Romania in leadership positions. And sometimes it was easier to find women who are fighting for real logistic solutions there than to find a man. And why can we not find this in Austria, for example, or maybe also Germany, like Tamara, you said? Is there a cultural difference? Are the girls raised differently in Eastern Europe?
I think it's a support function around it, what I mentioned, you know, because in the countries which I led now, I mean, you bring kids to school in the morning, they get breakfast there, they get their snack there, they get lunch there, they get afternoon snack, and then you pick them up at 4 o'clock, right? So this is the time frame, and kids at a very early stage, they're taken care of in this system, yeah? We don't have this in Austria, actually, right? Also not with our schooling system, nothing. So, and I think that's a big difference in society, and it's also acceptable that the man needs to leave at 4 o'clock to pick up his kids from school, for example, and bring them to soccer. So, and this is my finding as well, and this gives also, and it's very acceptable that women go back to work very quickly, also because of income, for sure, you know, because there need to be two breadwinners. But I mean, this setup in a society allows also women to get back to career, to focus on that, and to develop strongly and nicely, you know. I don't see this, unfortunately, in Austria, and it's also based on my own experience. It's very tough, you know, to get this support system and schooling system and everything, you know, so. And I think here, that's what I see as the major difference, because I'm sure there's equally talented ladies in Austria and Germany, in Western Europe as such, you know, than also in Eastern Europe, yeah.
Yeah, and I think also in Eastern, the acceptance is a bit more that men take care more of kids. Yeah, that they even stay at home when the kid is sick. It's accepted. Here, I don't know how you have it in your management team, if they can easily walk out and say, sorry, I will be 2 days at home, yeah, because my daughter is sick. I don't know what you're going to do.
Well, we are now at the end of our discussion. So do you have any last words, any last wishes for companies, for politicians, for the societies? Just 10 seconds for each of us, because I think we have to end now.
I'm really, you know, super excited about the opportunity for us to raise strong girls, you know, to instill confidence in our daughters, in the future generations, that they can do anything that they want, you know. And I still think society, and I can also speak for myself, how I was raised, you know, and also how I sometimes have unconscious bias still in my head, which is blocking me sometimes from making decisions in favor of women. So that would be my wish for myself, but also for all of you guys, of course. Yeah.
Rita?
I will say only, come on, girls. That's all.
Tamara?
Yeah, I can only echo that. I think it's really just get it done, give it a try, and if you fail, you fail, but the risk to make it is there.
Yeah, and see the value adds, yeah, to mix your teams and to get rid of this pure boys club, but actually take active approaches, because there is a huge value in getting female talents into your company.
So thank you very much for the participation, for your question, for the attention.
Sure.
Oh,
Why not?
if we have time. Take your time.
Change the schedule. First of all, I want to thank all of you. For me personally, it was a great discussion. I hope the whole audience here enjoyed it very much. Thanks a lot to all of you. And we have heard many things about women in logistics. Now, I would have a question that is not related to women in logistics, but I'm just personally curious, and I want to take the chance now. Tamara, can you tell us in 1 minute what is the difference of Forto being a digital freight forwarder? Because, you know, I was living in a historical, traditional freight forwarding world, and I always wanted to ask you this, and maybe you can give us a little insight. What is the difference with you guys?
That's the good part. When I'm working in sales, I can even answer that. Digital freight forwarding is bringing data together and makes it happen that your cargo is there at the time when you need it. The promise which everyone is giving, and we really working on to make it as easy as sending an email.
I think I would have said the same as a traditional freight forwarder, but a little more click and it's there.
Yes.
But you guys are still transporting.
We still transporting cargo from A to B. It could be in a container or without a container, no, but really serious. Part of the problems why this industry is struggling is we have a lack of people, and the question is how we can handle that. And you need to make it more easy. You need to make it easier from a system perspective. And what the founders of Forto figured out years ago was, there is not this kind of system where you bring a tech perspective and a logistics perspective together. You have a big forwarder, with all respect, they have an IT database, and there's someone who's trying to give them an understanding what to do. If we would like to have something changed, we're just walking to the next desk, because it's our tech department who is sitting there and having this together, not some company there and some company there. We own our TMS and we mirror the data at the end to our customer, and that makes the difference.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for the insight. Thanks for being on stage with us.
Thank you.
Mm.